I love cookies. I love cookies. I love cookies. I love cookies.
Welcome to Cookies,
Cookies.
the playoff basketball podcast. I am Ben Detrick. With me, as usual, Jordan Redaelli is here.
Good morrow, fellow basketball people.
Andrew Kuo is also here.
What's up, guys? I'm feeling awesome
Why is you feeling so good?
because I just watched a bunch of great basketball games and shared some pizza with you guys.
You did do some pizza sharing, and thank you for bringing a selection of slices to the lab, as it's called, the laboratory.
I was super hungry and running late, so I felt bad. So
You felt so bad that you took extra late time to go and get pizza? You had tacked on another 20 minutes?
to buy you pizza because I was going to skip it
No,
entirely.
to buy you pizza, and then you realized that you had to supply pizza to us in order for it to be
Did you buy us
ethical.
off? Was,
Oh,
this
look-
was it a ruse?
Look who's never getting pizza from me again. You guys.
Hey, man, I shouldn't be eating pizza anyway.
Yeah, what's up with the lack of gratitude, Jordan? Why does everything need to be a Machiavellian plot from Kuo to ply us?
Have you met Kuo? He's a Machiavellian dude.
It's buying pizza for us when
Yeah,
we,
yeah,
when we
what-
kind of want it, when we're like, yes, we'll take pizza.
What was your angle on that pizza?
Being
you brought
late,
over?
wanting to be later, probably
Had a yen for some pizza, but
bet-
you
you know what I bet? I bet he had an eBay auction on Hoka's or something ending in like 12 minutes. He's like, I don't want to do that there, and so he wanted to do it in peace at the pizza shop.
was trying to buy a 12-pack of Oatly oat milk.
We got the Hoka hookup. No eBay for us.
The
The Hoka hookup.
you know what,
Focus.
I got a tip for you to get here on time. I mean, I'm saying this as the person who's always late and mostly never even turns up.
But
so
you are an expert then on getting there on time because you're typically late.
yeah, city bike, dude. Because you can come over from the J, right? You end up at Marcy. Just get on a city bike and ride all the way here.
True.
Ben has a city bike right outside his place. City bike is one of the best things to happen to New York City.
They got rid of the motorized ones recently.
Yeah, because
They're blowing up or something.
People were
Something's
getting,
happening.
People were getting hurt.
Oh, the brakes were too. They were going too fast, and the brakes were stopping them on a dime, and people were going over handlebars.
God, why did they get rid of that? It would have been. I'd love to see that. Just like in the summer, you could walk around and 6 times a day just see someone eating shit like lemmings falling off a cliff.
Some Belgian tourist just flying head over heels.
like a
on
whole
the
French
hour.
family being taken out. Like mom accidentally puts the brakes on and squashes 2 kids, and then dad comes through and then he yells at them all.
As long as no one gets hurt in that, it's always funny, right? Like watching someone flip over a bike. As long as they're not hurt, it's kind of always amusing. What other things are always fucking funny?
Ben. No, I don't mean Ben. He's never funny. But I was just throwing the question.
I was
to
like,
you.
that's high praise, Jordan. Thank you. But
Eating spicy food, watching someone eat like a nuclear chili pepper, always hilarious.
the videos of people eating cinnamon are funny.
Oh yeah, that's
That
really
was like
intense.
that challenge. It was like, can you eat a tablespoon of cinnamon? And
Yeah.
people are like, oh, sure I can. And then they generally look like they're going to die.
Always, as long as someone doesn't get hurt, a man getting hit in the balls, always funny.
Balls, ball torture.
But the other thing though is when you see like a gif of someone that looks like they're grievously hurt, it like always cuts with like a plausible deniability that maybe they didn't get hurt. Like you'll see the ones where someone like takes this incredibly precarious, awful fall. They're like they must have died, but they always cut off in a place before you see whether they actually got their skull crushed by a bus or something.
I think that's like an internet viral GIF rule. You have to know the outcome. Because like I watched a hilarious one of like,
But you're saying I think it's that you can't know the outcome.
oh really? See,
I think it's like you see the guy fall.
Yeah, it's
and
like-
then
it's
you
like
never
when
see
people-
him like get up or like lie there prone. It's just like the fall happens.
It's like the escalator thing in Spain or wherever it was, where all those people got swallowed by an escalator. Everyone's like, oh, that's fucking crazy. It's like, no, like 40 people died.
terrifying. Escalators are just terrifying. But like, okay, so there was an example of this yesterday. Someone posted a video of a cat looking in like a pool. and then they snuck up on the cat and like scared it, and the cat jumped into the pool, but it disappeared, and the video cut off. And of course, all the reaction was like, "Is the cat okay?" I'm sure the cat was fine, but like
That's what I mean.
know.
You always have to
And, like, yeah,
cut
like,
off.
But it didn't
right there.
work, right? Because everyone's just like, "You got to take this down
Well,
immediately."
there's the one of the is it in the Rockaways or whatever, the possum falling off the side of the wall.
Oh,
and it
yeah,
hits
yeah.
the sand, and it looks like it splats into a million pieces. But that was actually just the sand displacing. It wasn't. It looks like it's blood, but it's not. It's just sand. And then the video, you hear this thud, and it was like, ah! And then it cuts. But in reality, the possum just like shook it off and walked away. Probably had, didn't walk away, but like kind of like slithered away on its broken back and shattered feet.
Well, remember De Blasio and Punxsutawney Bill? Am I saying that right?
Punxsutawney.
Punxsutawney Bill.
Puxatawny?
Phil?
Let's ask OG Upstate over here.
Puxatawny?
There we go.
Phil, right?
Yeah, that's
Phil.
upstate in Pennsylvania.
Because
Same shit. Not New York City. How's that?
De Blasio dropped the groundhog on Groundhog's Day and was like, "Oh," and brought it back up, and then it died a couple of days later.
Oh wait, he murdered the groundhog.
Yeah. I mean, not
Do they have
intentionally.
other groundhogs? Do they breed groundhogs just for the soothsaying purposes?
Not just for that purpose, but they pick a different one, I think.
But
and
wait,
they're-
so the groundhog
Obviously,
died
'cause
of
it
its
died.
injuries
Yes.
that de Blasio inflicted on it via his clumsiness.
And it wasn't like, obviously, it wasn't intentional. He looks like he was struggling, and it's like, oh, it just popped out of his arms and fell, and he picked him back up. Yeah, he died of internal injuries.
I want to see like all the videos of him campaigning on the trail and like going to hold babies, and people like, nah, dude, no way, you're
was-
holding my baby.
Is
That
there
was the immediate
anything
thought.
more delusional than Bill de Blasio seeming to believe that he's like a national politician who should be running for the presidency and seemingly might? The fact that he's out there, like talking to groups of seniors out in Iowa.
Every New York City mayor does that, right?
But right. Because you're America's mayor.
Right.
But de Blasio is deeply unpopular in New York in terms of, I would say, most groups. I don't think there's any particular segment who's like a staunch supporter of Bill de Blasio that I can think of. He isn't beloved by conservatives. Liberals don't really like him. He's just an utterly mediocre guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's also oddly bitter. He's a strange, annoying, sucky character overall. But he seems to believe it translates to a national stage.
He suffered from his own Pizzagate, where he ate it with a knife and fork.
He did, didn't he?
Never recovered. That was the height of his popularity.
I mean, we did cut up pizza today with a knife and ate little pizza shards with our hands.
De Blasio did that. Someone else made that a similar mistake of bungling their pizza eating.
This was a cookies
Yeah, we talked about this, right?
thing, yeah. Kamala Harris had that misstep of the breakfast sandwich, where she put it between sliced bread like a maniac.
And then
Like a
Cynthia
cop.
Nixon had cinnamon and salmon, which you declared as
My favorite.
But that blew my mind. That's
It's delicious.
That's totally unethical.
It's my go-to.
Cinnamon and salmon.
A cinnamon raisin bagel
it's immoral.
with the classic filling, which is like cream cheese, salmon, capers, onions, and tomato.
Okay, when you eat a bagel, do you eat it like it as a sandwich, or do you pull it apart like an Oreo and eat it two different?
Usually, I like to pull it apart, but like when I'm walking to cookies
and
on
you're,
time.
say, running 20 minutes late, and you try to, I don't know, bribe your co-hosts with offers of cinnamon and salmon.
You guys have always turned down my bagel offers. You've only said yes to pizza offers today. Because I'm usually like, you guys want bagels? You're like, nah. But although that's in the morning, and sometimes breakfast sucks. You just don't want to eat breakfast, right?
Are we? You've got some breakfast takes you want to get off?
Yeah, totally.
Well, let's hear what you got.
The
gang.
whole idea behind like you got to wake up and eat like a sound breakfast has been debunked, right? Like you just eat when you're hungry. Like drink water when you're thirsty. You don't have to drink 7 cups, and eat food when you're hungry. You don't have to have 7 meals.
so-
3 meals. Woo!
But you wake up, you know you've got a big, busy day of takes on the horizon. First, you've got to probably watch some people play video games on Twitch. Isn't that kind of what you do?
Always love it.
Like you've got to get some gamer fuel going, and you're now saying that you're opposed
Soylent.
to bagels, egg and cheese sandwiches, cereal. You just want to like
You trying to get some oat milk takes in? carving that oat milk lane. Yeah, I don't eat breakfast a ton, but okay. So I've been switching from like that kind of breakfast to like vegetables. I have like salads and like noodles for breakfast now.
The noodles
Yeah, like noodle soups, like half of the
for
world.
breakfast?
What are you?
Like
What are
most
you
of the
up to
world.
these
I
days?
thought I was a fucking psychopath because I ate olives and cheese for breakfast today.
That sounds nice.
Yeah, but you're having noodles?
Yeah.
That's some,
so
like
you're eating.
get your head red shit, you know?
But half the world does that.
So you're. I'm
Which
sorry.
half?
You're eating vegetables
Asian
for
half.
breakfast. You like cinnamon and salmon bagels.
Yeah. But then I stopped eating dairy and meat, so I can't
guess
have salmon
What
or
I'm concerned about is
cream cheese.
Are we now learning that your food takes are worthless?
Oh, they've always been worthless.
Okay. I'm just making sure.
What are we? And my basketball takes are worthless.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
are we
no,
doing?
We know that, but
What are we
I've always
doing?
been like, oh yeah, I'll ask Kuo like where should we eat? And I'm like, wait a minute, you like ridiculous things.
Always. I send you the place with weird intestines and fish maw.
What is that like on your intestines and your digestive system?
And your
I don't
fish
know.
maw.
I stopped eating that stuff.
Interesting.
So earlier, there's videotaped footage on our Instagram story of 3 slices of pizza that we were cutting up and tasting. The intriguing slice, and the reason that Kuo brought it, other than bribery, was that it's a ravioli slice.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so I saw online, and I think I'm getting Roma and Rosa confused, but on some website, some critic that I guess I trust was like, this is the coolest thing I ate this week. A ravioli slice from what I assume was like this chain of pizzerias that I got the pizza from. I think it was like Roma or Rosa, I forget. And so I got one for you guys to give it a shot. And I love ricotta cheese. So I thought there was no way this was going to be bad.
The ravioli slice was at Rosa's in Huntington, Long Island.
I know, but this is the same Rosas on Metropolitan. Aren't they the same people?
Unclear. But they
That's my
but they
point.
do have a ravioli slice.
Right. So, and it looks exactly the same as the picture, right? So I was thinking this was, yeah, I'll give you $4 for that slice so we can say we had it. It was pretty good. What do you guys
enjoyed
think
it.
about carbs on carbs, like spaghetti sandwiches? Do you guys vibe with that?
I don't like that idea.
I like that idea. I like spaghetti sandwiches. Shout out to our friends at Wells Dinette, formerly of Wells Dinette. Had a nice spaghetti sandwich there.
What made it delicious? Was there a trick?
I mean, the trick with that is that you have to cut up the spaghetti with scissors after it's made and then refry it in a pan. You can't just like...
Oh, so it's pan-fried spaghetti?
Well, afterwards, like you make like a spaghetti bolognese. A bolognese.
So it becomes almost a spaghetti burger.
Yeah, you don't have to... I mean, isn't a burger the shape and the preparation of the patty? It doesn't have to be. You could just get some tongs and throw it straight on the bun.
Okay.
But the thing is, you have to let it cool and then refry it so it's all the sauce sort of like gets into the noodle rather than just slips
Totally.
on top of it.
What about a samosa? Would that qualify? Because it's typically
Potatoes are tough. Yeah, I mean, yes, for sure. Technically, it will qualify. I'm more thinking like those yakitori buns that you get in Japanese supermarkets where it's like the fried noodles in the bun. But yeah, I guess like a potato filling would.
Potato on pizza is good. Scalloped potatoes on pizza. You ever had that shit? Wowza.
Like the Sullivan
Yeah,
Street Bakery
super
style
good.
one? Like, is it like scalloped potatoes on top of like focaccia kind of thing?
No, on top of pizza.
I mean, like, or like leaven, like,
Thinly
Okay.
sliced, scalloped, fried little cheese.
I've
on
never
pizza.
had that. Good best pizza has sweet potato on a slice, on a vegetable slice, which is pretty good. Do you have some pizza takes, or are you now rendered useless in pizza talk because you don't eat
I'm
cheese?
always useless, but I was thinking about this the other day because I was hanging out with Jordan at our favorite restaurant, Chez Matant, and I claim they have a signature dish, which is their Caesar salad. Unfucking believable Caesar salad. Like destination Caesar salad, perhaps?
Kuo also told me that night that he dreams about Aiden's sausage.
I did because he makes amazing food. And I know Jordan has told me he thinks about his sausage quite a bit, and he takes it off the menu when he's not satisfied.
I think about my sausage. I didn't know that you think about Aiden's sausage.
It's funny because I said that line looking for a reaction, but he was too busy to make fun of me, so he just gave me a
And you
smile.
know that I'm pretty fucking busy if I'm not making fun of
Totally.
people.
I said that line being like, let's go, let's riff on this. And it was too busy.
Jordan turns down a sausage joke. He's definitely too busy because otherwise it's just Merlin Wang.
Yeah.
Like,
It was actually annoying because I was sitting there so desperately wanting to,
You gave me that
makes-
wry smile.
like, I just wanted to, like, it's like, God damn it, if I only had 45 minutes to keep riffing on this sausage thing,
I
much
know.
as I have now.
You needed a window, but it was fucking slammed.
So is sausage jokes up there as one of, like, the funniest, most puerile things imaginable?
I think it ranks below farting.
Because we bring this up, obviously, because Max Kellerman farted. See, I can't do it.
Max Kellerman on First Take, a show
yeah.
I enjoy quite a bit, allegedly yesterday farted on the air. And that brings up a lot of like on-air stuff that can happen that's hilarious. He went on the radio today and denied it, vehemently denied it. To the response, the interviewer gave him the response. Whoever smelt it. Oh no, who denies it supplied it. He who denies it supplies it.
So the thing is, he tried to he either tried to he knew he was about to fart and tried to cover it with a little cough, or it was the cough that
It was his
like-
butt coughing?
No, I think like, he tried to cover it with a cough, but the act of coughing kind of like
Squeezed another one out?
Yeah, pushed it out slightly more violently than he had initially planned.
Okay, let's say you guys had a slice of pizza before cookies, and by accident you had a really hot take, and you let one rip, and we all hear it. What do you do then? What would you guys do, Ben? What would you do personally?
if I farted on air, like
And we
while we're
heard it.
recording.
Or maybe just if we were hanging out, but we all heard it, and we paused for a second because Stephen A. kind of paused.
I think I would just laugh.
That's reasonable.
I think you would laugh and then blow up whoever farted on the air.
Would you immediately accuse me of farting?
Oh, yeah, probably. Or do you think in the professional setting you just have to kind of like the show goes on?
Yeah. What would you? Or would you?
I mean, are we talking about the context of this particular show in which it is a freewheeling basketball discussion,
There's
or you're on live TV on ESPN?
right.
I think Max should have copped to it. Like, what is the downside of being like, yeah, man, I farted. I sit in that chair for like 3 hours a day.
What if he didn't fart?
What if the earth was flat, man? He farted.
No. You say he farted, but what if he? It sounded like a cough to me.
I also do appreciate the fact that no one said like passed gas or like had a little wind. Everyone's just openly using the word fart over and over and over on ESPN, which is pretty cool if you ask me. Like, how
What, have they been talking about it on ESPN? Oh, you mean on Levitard?
or just when they're like Max Kellerman, his quote is like, "I didn't fart." Like, even
That's
him-
a solid word, right?
yeah, like people saying fart on national TV is like over and over is really funny to me. But that's because farts are funny.
Has that changed? Because there has obviously been this sort of increasing coarseness of language, in part because of the president. but
Shithole countries.
Just in general, like
Yeah.
language
When he said shithole countries.
that people used to dance around is now more sort of casually used in places like the New York Times or wherever. And one of those weird ones with basketball is like they won't say someone got like hit in the balls or hit in the testicles.
Midsection.
It's like the lower midsection is
Yeah, yeah.
his abdomen.
Yeah. When
like,
clearly
wha-
he got dinked in the nuts.
Right.
Yeah,
it's like,
for
it's
sure.
weird. It's like why are we using this like Victorian
His
language?
nuts.
It's like
Yeah.
oh, it looks like he took one there to the balls.
Obviously, Kevin Harlan will be the first to jump on that train, right? He's like, oh, we took one to the groin or took one to the balls.
Oh, straight in the sack.
I mean, someone could really carve out a little niche if
Kevin
they.
Garnett tried. He tried to be the nut puncher, remember? Every time he'd post up, he'd just like give it a shot.
Oh, I mean, an announcer could
know,
really
I know.
could really go down in
Players
in
only.
fame or infamy by being the guy who really broaches that conversation.
Should be
honestly,
Kevin Garnett as the nut
Yeah, it's
guy.
like I feel like some commentators like they do use the abbreviation BS sometimes, but even that is quite strange. BS.
Some like I don't know what some phrases, the origins of some phrases are, but like
Oh, BS. The origin is bullshit.
it's not Bill Simmons.
Can I?
It's not Ben Simmons.
Can I say that on the show? Bullshit.
Is this guy BSing
Yes.
us? Like, yes, he's not shooting unethical shots.
Yeah, that's some BS.
Well, I think also like the thing with language, like being able to say fart.
You love that word. You love farting.
Farts are hilarious.
No
It's the
wonder
only
he
thing
was
that-
so adamant about discussing this. You're
Jordan's been trying to push farts on us
all day,
Yeah.
and you're like, I don't know if we need to talk about it. He was so wounded. He's like, I just want to talk about farts.
I was
and
like-
then look at him right now. He's just
He's
grinning.
happy. So, this
He
is
couldn't
worth
even-
it. This
he
was
couldn't-
all worth
He
it.
couldn't even make it through saying the word.
My question
All right,
was, but
without
what about
cackling.
farts?
This is
Jordan,
this
say
is,
the word fart without laughing.
Can't do it. It was all worth it.
but this is
No,
this
just say it. Say it without laughing.
Farts.
Oh, now it makes sense. He's such a little infant. Look at him.
That's the thing. It is so
great. It's great.
infantile and puerile, but you see like fucking 60-year-old men still giggling at the word fart or the fact that somebody may have farted, and it's like it's so normal to do, but why is it still funny? Why will it never not be funny? And even if it's disgusting, if someone does like the worst fart and you're like feel sick to your stomach at what they just did to you, you still like kind of appreciate the fact that they did it, and deep down you think it's kind of funny.
See,
if
I-
you can get someone with a fart like a mean taxi driver, I'll leave one in there and slam the door and be like, sayonara.
I like that you're just rolling around the city, using your movie pass to take dumps, farting in cabs. It's just an infantile experience. Your domination of your bowels over that of
I
Manhattan.
mean, again, you're like a weird fucking like.
Don't get angry about.
No, you're like a bowel shamer. Like,
You're a fart cop.
yeah.
A bowel shamer.
What do you just not shit ever?
Who's saying that?
Exactly.
I think farting ranks below spicy foods and falling down and getting hit in the nuts. But I'm willing to be talked out of that ranking.
I'm sorry. It's being hit in the lower abdomen,
In the midsection, being struck in the midsection.
right to the pelvis.
Right.
Right in the fart catches.
So
Look at him.
he loves this. It's great.
What? I just wanted to get out there. I'm actually laughing.
Say fart. Say fart.
Fart. I'm actually laughing because I've been Kellermaning you guys all show.
Yeah, you did. You did your worst earlier.
Yeah.
Which again, no, you said you're saying I did my worst. I contend that I did my best.
All right.
All right. Whatever. You guys are both fart cops.
Tomato. Well,
Poot poot.
did either of you guys catch the big monster show on HBO on was it Sunday night?
The Wizards vs. Swamp Dragons.
The Game of Crowns.
I watch it. I watch all of them.
Yeah, I think I've seen all of them at least 2 times. Some of the highlight episodes 3 times.
Really? I didn't know you were that into Game
throny?
of Thrones. I don't think we've ever discussed it before.
I don't read the books, but I watch all of the like behind the scenes and the weird like auxiliary programs. There's like an animated Game of Thrones thing on YouTube that kind of explains a lot of the events that they talk about.
Super complicated.
Yeah, super complicated. They talk about it in the show, but it's not. You don't see it, and it's just like a tossed away comment. Most likely there for fans of the books, like, oh shit, they mentioned that. But then these other shows go and say what that event was that they were talking about that will never be explored on the show. But they're just adding extra context for nerds.
So where this show lost me was, I know Barrack came back. He was like reborn over and over. But I still can't forgive them for killing the main character. No spoilers. This happened seasons ago. Tragically killed the main guy, Jon Snow. Left him in the dust. We were like, what? Season ended. The very first episode of the next season, they brought him back to life because someone
It's
concentrated.
the second episode.
I've only
But
seen.
can you forgive them for that? Like, then can't they just reverse the red marriage?
Yeah, I
the
agree.
Red Party?
You can't trust a show that has no stakes.
That's why I'm kind
Or
of
at least
bummed on
or
Endgame.
pretends that it has stakes and then immediately makes them evaporate.
Right. The rules with Game of Thrones was like your guy could die at any point. And there's like gambling and all this fun stuff about that. And then the main person comes back and he's not even different. Wouldn't have it been cool if he came back and was like kind of evil, but no one knew it.
I like death really like
Changed him.
Yeah.
I mean, or maybe he was like, holy shit. I saw something. I saw the future, something, but he just came back exactly the same. It was a bummer.
Do you guys enjoy the premiere episode that for this season, whatever number it is, that completely ruined Twitter for the evening from my standpoint? just ruined.
I know you were on Twitter just being like, "How do I ban this? Do I?"
It was useless.
What keyword do I ban?
I was watching basketball, trying to get some NBA humor, some jokes, and it was just this because it was during the Houston-Utah game.
was a good
It was
game.
an awesome game, and I'm like, oh, let's see who's got some good stuff going. And it was just, I don't know, Lannisters and Bannisters and Bran and Daenerys or.
But now you know how everyone feels when you go off on Sixers haters.
yeah. Now you know how it feels when you guys talk about what's that thing that
Basketball.
You guys talk about? Yeah, basketball. Or
No, because
being,
I'm
or
not-
being ethical or that fucking black hole. Like enough with the black hole. It looked cool, I guess.
I mean, I just mean it was every other person. If it's just one person talking about Game of Thrones, then you ignore it, which I'm the easily ignored one person. It was like every single thing was about Game of Thrones. I don't know. I saw the first season. It was okay. I didn't get into it. And,
I'll tell you
and
something.
left it there.
The streets were dead on Sunday night. I was out there in those streets, and they were dead. I was like, "Why? What?" I was like, "Is it a
good
public
TV.
holliday? Like, what the fuck's going on?" And then I realized it was Game of Thrones.
Oh, right.
People are in-
Rockets, Jazz.
People, no, straight up, people are been waiting like a year and a half for this new season. It's like the Super Bowl. Yeah. There's people in bars watching it. There's people that having like Game of Thrones parties. There's no one out there on the streets, representing. It was just all out.
It was like really tough
one-
to get a cipher going.
Yeah, man. Like,
I was beatboxing and no one had bars for me.
I beatboxed for hours, just hoping that some break dancers might come around, some street
I was out
artists.
there with my newspapers and oil drum, but no one else to give me a match.
We know a bunch of people from Wisconsin, and I always ask them what it feels like when the Packers play because like it's the only ticket in town and everyone's really into them. And they were like, they always say the same thing. It's like it's a ghost town. Like shops close up, banks close. Well, it's usually a Sunday, but like supermarkets kind of shut down, and everyone either watches or goes to the game. And I'm like, isn't that a prime time for crime time? And I didn't mean to
Someone's
say
getting
that.
their own cipher going.
A little
right now.
rhyme time.
Can I get some beats? Can someone like spin around on the ground? But so I was like, isn't this time for like looting or any sort of like crime?
Is Jordan tagging up the wall right now?
Holy shit.
I am lefty.
But they were just like, no, because it's disrespectful to the Packers. And I'm like, so even criminals watch the game? Like everybody watches the game.
I think Argentina was like that when Boca River would play. It was just kind of a holiday. It was like, all right, every single bar was full of people, but also people on the sidewalk who like couldn't get into the bar would be looking through the window, so you couldn't even go by sidewalks. Also, it's like that in Europe during the World Cup.
Yeah.
It would be fun to go to Wisconsin and like figure out a way to cut a lot of electricity from different city blocks to see what would happen if it would turn into like a purge situation where people start going crazy.
Purge, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
You love Wisconsin, Quo.
I do.
And also,
Milwaukee's
Jordan, why would you
awesome.
want to do that to the very city that
your
your
favorite team.
basketball team?
I mean, I don't care about them. I only care about the team.
Wow, your allegiance is to the laundry, not the civic center of Milwaukee.
I enjoy people from that neck of the woods, but not enough to not see what happens with a little social experimentation and vandalism.
So before we move on from Game of Thrones here, did you guys like the first episode? Are you still into it?
Well, as a casual fan, after the whole Jon Snow debacle, I was kind of annoyed because sometimes nothing happens, and it was just like a lot of reunions, and a lot of nerds were just like, "Oh my god, these two characters are in the same room," sort of like in Heat when Pacino and De Niro are in the same scene. I just didn't really care. I'm not on that level of like nerddom. It was fun just because I love like even though Paul Simon's last album wasn't good. It's cool to have a Paul Simon album, so it's nice to have another Game of Thrones episode. But I thought it was boring.
Boring as batshit.
Yeah, it was boring.
Super boring. It was a table setting episode. It was
Although
like
the
you
kid
said, it was
got
like
lit on
100 characters having like 2.5 minute scenes where they ride past one another on a horse and nod. Like, fuck off.
And people were going,
Are they
nuts.
sharing a flagon of mead?
But then a kid got lit on fire with a bunch of arms and legs, no spoilers, from his posse, his crew.
Yeah.
That was scary. But someone had to tell me what that meant because I was like, what's happening? There's like a burning, screaming thing on a wall. And then a day later, someone was like, oh, there was this thing. I'm like, ooh, that's scary. Anyway, it was fine. I can't wait for this Sunday.
So less than rave reviews.
I mean, the whole thing gets a rave review, but that episode, maybe not so
Yeah,
much.
it was boring. That was like that episode was like watching the Bucks take the Pistons apart. Hopefully, we'll get more thrilling games like
Someone's trying to ingratiate himself with the fine people of Wisconsin after his schemes to deprive them of power.
well, whatever. I'm just saying like that.
Doesn't
That was
Brogdon
so
sound
boring.
like...
We want Game of Thrones episodes that are more action packed. Say like a little bit more
A little bloodletting.
bloodletting, some revenge. There's lots of rivalries. I couldn't think of what basketball matchup that would be like.
Well, the Bucks seem to have the most Game of Thrones people on their team, like Middleton, Brogdon. Don't they sound like characters from that show?
The Hound,
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Brogdon.
the Freak.
Who else? All right, I'm done with this Game of Thrones shit. Moving
As you said on Twitter. And then I laughed at that tweet, being like, haha, Ben is not self-aware.
Yeah. just wait. Ben's gonna spend a good like 3 weeks watching the whole series once it's done.
No, I just wasn't that into it.
What is
I
the-
watched the first season. It was fine.
What's the most critically acclaimed show you guys know about that you just have never or will never watch?
Oz,
That's a good one. Me too.
I don't know
American Horror Story.
I don't
That
know.
one's fun.
Does critically hailed and popular? Are we using those?
No, I'm talking like Lost, like the ones everyone loves. Like,
I didn't watch Lost.
oh, the first season's incredible, man.
I didn't watch.
Seinfeld.
Friends.
We know you've seen.
I didn't
Mad
watch.
About-
I didn't watch Friends.
It wasn't that good. You
It
don't
was
have to watch it.
it
Mad About You.
It was eating into his Mad About You time exactly.
Mad About You is the disguise that eats into your face. No, that's not the saying.
But Ben, you don't really watch stuff.
No,
Every time me and Jordan are like, let's talk about this thing, you're like, cool, I haven't watched it.
Yeah, that's true. You know what I watch? I watch YouTubes.
Oh, yeah, you like MRI.
Yeah, I like
MRE.
I like Steve 1989's MRI unpacking videos.
Yeah.
Let's see what else I like on YouTube. Those are good.
I like the videos.
Embroidery tutorials.
Woodworking is great.
I don't mind non-talking ASMR type stuff. I'll watch some origami. I like the noise more than actually the visuals.
I like
that's
the
it.
ones where like skinny Asian people make like 5 pounds of ramen noodles and they'll eat the whole thing.
What about the ones where it's also skinny Asian people, but they build these weird fortresses? Have you seen those?
Those are cool.
They're really strange.
What are they called? What's the name of this fortress building
I don't know.
activity?
It started with these videos that started popping up a few years ago, and they're kind of mostly Cambodian or from Laos, and they would be kids building fish traps out of like tubes and with shovels, and then it kind of seemed to explode into a genre where they'd have 30 million views. So now it's being monetized. So they'll be like, smart boys build underground fortress with pool, and it's clearly been built by like a whole team of people, but it just shows two silent kids digging a little bit. Then all of a sudden it's this subterranean palace that's full of water, and they're like down there hanging out. It's so weird, but it's clearly like a real industry.
It's awesome.
Do they have scuba gear? Like this shit is underwater?
No, it's more like they just build like hangouts and like huts. But they've gone from small like outdoor survivalist things to these huge like palaces, but just of bamboo and mud and
There's
stones.
engineering stuff going on that's interesting. It's like little tiny bits of problem solving and ridiculousness.
Yeah, exactly. It went from building like a small shelter on an island to literally building like a swimming pool with torches around it.
Oh, I'm gonna check out this Mud Palace shit as soon as I get home.
It's kind
pretty
it's,
tight.
it's kind of cool.
It's relaxing.
Anyway, that's what I watch.
That's cool.
You know what else?
You know what else you can?
You know what else you can watch?
I like
How you say basketball?
I like how we keep teasing that we're going to talk about basketball, like segues that we just don't really take advantage of.
Playoff basketball potting sucks, but let's go for it.
And we're living proof.
I feel like we've done a great job avoiding basketball up to the 35-minute mark of the
Oh,
show.
that's it.
You know who else was avoiding basketball until recently? Ben Simmons.
It's a little bait.
Yeah. Eat it up.
Well, yeah. So we're now, as of Tuesday afternoon, 2 of the playoff series are 2 games in. So those are the ones we're going to focus on a little bit because
Got some
we got,
time
we
on
got
them.
a little leeway to discuss. So the first one, let's before we get to your Ben Simmons hate and you heel turning on your Aussie friend, let's just talk a little bit about Golden State and the Clippers. Now, game 1, Golden State did their playoff thing where suddenly they looked interested and did easily, trounced the Clippers. Game 2, different story. And the Clippers came back from down 31 to shock Golden State on Golden State's home court.
One of the most enjoyable games I've ever seen.
I missed it. I wish I saw that one. But so now the series is at 1-1. And then there was another piece of news. So we can get all the stuff out and we'll discuss, is that Boogie Cousins suffered an injury that appears to knock him out of the rest of the postseason. So that's the situation of that series, and now go off, my Kings.
It was gross. The injury, you could see there was a muscle on his upper leg that had maybe been cut off or snapped.
Yeah, he looked like he was shoplifting something.
Yeah, it looked like he put something in his pocket, but it was his leg.
Yeah, it was fucking gross. Like a 1.5 liter bottle of Dasani or some shit.
Yeah, or like a small carton of Virginia Slims or
Yeah.
something.
Like the scene from the corrections in which the guy's smuggling a salmon in his pants in the supermarket.
Kind of like kids where he
HBO
puts
never
the
made
40
that.
in
They
the
bought it.
where he puts the 40 down the bottom of his leg, except that was in his thigh.
Oh,
No, kids.
kids. Yeah,
where he
yeah.
has the bottom of the fatigues tied off.
Yeah. It definitely looked like he was smuggling something in his leg.
Yeah, I kind of get triggered by those kind of those plays because I believe like hustle is a fan created myth, and like no player should dive for a ball ever because the chance of hurting yourself is like 20%, and that's way too high. Like he just should have let that ball go out of bounds.
I generally feel as if you should dive after a loose ball in a critical situation.
Like a game, an elimination game with the seconds winding down.
Yes.
Not that play.
Dive,
Yeah.
but early in the game, nah.
Let it go.
Live to play another day.
I'm gonna be on Boogie's side here. Well, kind of not, but kind of shading him as well. I don't think that was hustle. I think the injury happened
And he fell.
and he fell.
That could be the case.
Yeah.
Totally.
Because if he dove for the ball, the leg that he
grabs for it immediately.
yeah, and it was the opposite leg to the one that he jumped off. So
Yeah.
The question here is, do you guys feel bad for him?
Well, like we dog KD for ring chasing, and he's amazing, and he succeeded in getting those rings. Is there a more egregious example of that behavior than what Boogie did this year? I mean, we love Boogie. I think everyone in the league, every fan is like, he's awesome. We're into him. But he's like the most egregious ring chaser we can think of, right?
One of the most egregious ring chasers ever. In that,
ooh, I can't wait.
but I was
Go
saying,
ahead.
no, I was gonna say in that Durant like signed with them, and he took less money than he may have been able to take if he stayed in OKC. So he is a ring chaser, but they had lost the
Right.
prior year, and
And Draymond asked, and
he took like a large salary. Boogie went there after 2 back-to-back titles and is making no money. It's a ridiculously egregious ring chase. It would be different, of course, if he was healthy and did it, but in terms of a player who is still in the prime of their career, there was no desperation that Boogie needs to get a ring and like we just want to see him get it. He's like 28.
Yo, you guys are assholes. You really that's fucked up.
part?
David West in a twilight last year of his career, chasing a ring and turning down a bunch of money to win with them. That's far more egregious.
No, I don't think so because he was much older and he was
old,
looking at
though. He was
retirement.
washed. He was a role player.
Boogie still hadn't signed his huge contract yet.
Yeah, and he hadn't signed his huge contract because he lost like at least $100 million not being able to re-up that contract because he got hurt.
What did the
So he
Pelicans
lost-
offer him? Like two years at $20 million each? Something.
I can't
big.
remember what the specifics were.
turned
He
it
definitely.
down.
I mean, I'm sympathetic to him for what Jordan is alluding to, the fact that he lost insane money because of his Achilles injury, and that's not only the contract that he lost for now, that he would have signed going into the season, but future ones that will be sapped because of that injury as well. It's just a huge monetary loss.
And
So
this-
I'm,
He probably
I'm
lost. He's
sympathetic.
probably lost 250 million because that
Like all
wasn't
to- I
wasn't
think-
going to be his veteran max. That was the one that got him to the veteran max, right?
Supermax. I think he was
Supermax.
up for a super.
That's what I mean. It would ultimately, over the course of his career, probably cost him something along those lines of like $200 million.
And that injury last night probably was an effect of that Achilles injury. And like, he becomes a sad story, but also like a really interesting one because he could turn a franchise if he can like rehab for again most of a year.
I feel
for cheap.
I feel bad for him because I don't want anyone to ever get hurt.
Never.
I just don't want players to get hurt. I don't, unless they are reprehensible human beings. I want
No,
everyone,
even then.
But I'm saying I don't. Like my thing is, I never want guys to get hurt. I never
Zaza.
want
You
dudes.
hate Zaza.
I don't even want dudes to be.
I mean, I want to
to
go
fail.
I want to go back to this scene where it's like, oh well, it's egregious. He turned down this money from New Orleans. Nobody apparently wants to be in New Orleans, so you can't begrudge him that. And I've said this before. Why shouldn't
Drew
this
Holiday.
dude want to rehab both his career, his body, and his reputation as a difficult person in in a winning environment with rad dudes he's played with before, like on Team USA and whatnot, with a good coaching staff in a nice city.
No problem with that, but we get on Durant, so we can no longer criticize Durant for doing that.
I mean, look, the nuts and the bolts of the situation are that Boogie joined a
the
back-to-back,
midsection and the bolts.
the lower abdomen.
The upper
the
thigh
bolts.
of
Can we even
the
say
situation.
bolts? It sounds like an Australian slang for some sort of organ. Ah, right in the old bolt.
I believe you are correct.
My bolt is burning.
Just fantasizing about a bolt again.
Dreaming about that bolt.
Do you really want to know what you really want to know what the slang for bolt is in Australia?
Yes,
what that
you're-
means?
yes.
It means like an ejaculation.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It had, to
There
be,
we
it, had,
go.
it had to be something crude. Just a
Is it the crudest country? The crudest continent?
the crudest cookie continent for sure.
Yeah.
Every Australian phraseology always deals with like at least a testicle. Like there's always one testicle involved.
If not two.
Usually like 6.
Just 6 testicles.
But the so I don't feel bad. Oh, you got more testicle stuff?
No, I was going to
How
talk
many
about
testicles
some
have you eaten?
I've never had Rocky Mountain oysters.
Really?
I've never actually seen them on the menu.
Oh.
Have you guys?
Never.
Even
No.
in foreign countries. But I don't really go off the beaten path in foreign countries. I just stay in like kind of like concentrated tourist places.
But as someone that was into farts, the idea of eating balls is hilarious to me. Like, you remember that movie Funny Farm with Chevy Chase, where he's eating the meatballs and he's like, "These are delicious," and then like the country it goes, "Yeah, you're eating sheep balls."
Was it Funny Farm? Oh, Rocky Mountain oysters, right? And he was like, "I love these oysters, but we're so far from the ocean." It's like, "They're not oysters, buddy. City slicker."
Yeah. Sheep balls. Wait, so where were we? Oh, Boogie.
Anyway,
Boogie's
well,
mid-
so let me,
No.
well, let me switch then. Is Boogie Look at him. He's just thinking about farts and he's laughing.
Loves farts.
He's rolling back in his chair, like eyes staring at the ceiling, thinking farts.
Dude, when I first saw the
Oh my god, you love farts? Wow.
no, it's just, with the Kellerman footage was so funny, and I also kind of hate Max Kellerman. So this
You know, he used to be a rapper too.
really.
But we talked about this. His brother was like disturbingly murdered.
Okay. Now I was going to be mean.
No,
about
no. We
Kellerman.
can still talk about
You
farts. I didn't mean
still
to
talk
harsh
about
the farts.
So I've never liked Max Kellerman until he like shat himself on TV.
Allegedly.
He was in a 90s rap group with his brother.
And they got into some beef, and his brother was.
No, but his brother, that had nothing to do with it. His brother's story is completely awful. His brother, without being a super downer, no, it's there's some good stuff that was written about it, but his brother was killed by a boxer with like mental illness that he was trying to help. It's an awful, sad story. But back to current topics. No, I don't even want to mention it without at least saying that there is like a really tragic tale there. Anyway, Boogie, to me, not a tragic tale. And my question now is, does Golden State have an excuse without Boogie? Are we going to hear that if they lose, they didn't have Boogie?
The depreciation of Draymond and Clay, I think, is noticeable. They look a little bit better. I haven't looked at the stats in these last two games, but like their seasons were odd, right? Like because they're still like young players, and we don't know if that's the Boogie effect or even the Kevin Durant effect. But they do have an excuse. I think they were beatable last year, as we saw clearly in the Houston series, and they didn't really get that much better. And I don't blame them. They have their guys. Like their shots are accounted for in a game. So they are as good as their players, and I think other teams got really fucking good.
I feel like Golden State is a team that we can apply some of the same critiques and, I guess, assumptions that we made about the Cavs with LeBron in a way, where after a while you get sick of trying every single game. Like you kind of know what the end result of the season will most likely be. And every year we'd say, I don't know, man, this is the year the Cavs just aren't going to do it. Like they just aren't playing defense like they used to. Then the playoffs would come around and they'd have some of those issues, but they'd more or less just be quelled by the greatness and the talent that they had.
Yeah.
And that's always going to be the case with how I view Golden State.
Or any defending champ.
I just think Golden State did not give a great effort many times this season. They're over it.
Yeah.
They
No,
don't care about the
Draymond
regular
was just
season.
coasting.
They don't seem to really like each other as teammates a great deal. They're kind of over this whole like regular season shit.
Yeah.
So that's why losing in a game in which the Clippers came back from 31 down.
Montrez.
Landry Shamet dropping bombs. Waluigi.
Lou Will Nacho game.
Can we
Ethical.
Can we delude ourselves into believing that Golden State might lose this season?
This season, so the field versus Golden State, which I think is like a decent debate. I'll still take Golden State, but it doesn't mean it's like a big disparity. Like even probability of 70-30, like 30% is huge. Shout out to Nate Silver. But like if the field has the 30% chance, like yeah, Golden State might get beat.
You know, their path to the finals is not great, as we discussed last week. You've got a first-round matchup against the Clippers, who are not as good as them, but have played extraordinarily well down the stretch. Then you get either the Rockets or Utah, who have been the two best teams in the NBA over the last month or so, maybe 2 months. Then you get whoever comes out of the other side of the bracket, which is not going to be as tough as who you've just played, but still, it'll be a quality opponent. And then you've got potentially Milwaukee or Toronto or Philly or whoever the best, Boston, the best from the East. That is not an easy route that they've had in the past.
That's not true.
They had some easy roads.
No, LeBron is not easy. Houston was not easy last year. I mean,
No, they've had challenges, but I just mean they lost to LeBron when the Cavs were at full strength. They beat the Cavs after Kyrie was gone. They beat the Cavs when Kyrie was hurt and Kevin Love was hurt.
But we're just like naming teams and what happened now. Like it's the problem we get into in this kind of the architecture of these brackets, right? Being like, well, all of these teams, the best one will come out of this bracket. But like, styles make fights, right? And so, as we're seeing with Utah, they trounced the NBA kind of in the last few months. They don't look like that team. The Nuggets are the number 2 seed. I don't think they're a threat to get very far.
I agree. I'm only saying as Golden State's legacy as one of the greatest teams of all time, and I do think that season, even now, they are arguably the greatest team of all time in terms of talent.
Still.
I think that's the case. I would put them
For sure.
over the Bulls.
Without Boogie, for sure.
I would put them over the Bulls 100 times out of 100. That Bulls team,
Pippen was good, though.
but they couldn't play with them.
But Pippen's better than any other player other than Durant and Curry on this team.
Yeah, but they couldn't shoot. It's like it's just a different
Yeah,
era and stuff. It's different. I just mean, in terms of the best team we've ever seen, due to the modernity of
Modernity.
due to modern basketball and the way that they play, like they're incredible.
For sure, it's unfair.
But they never beat that Spurs team when it was really clicking.
They never beat the Rockets team last year.
But they didn't beat.
They didn't,
They didn't
really.
beat
Without
also,
CP3.
They didn't beat the LeBron Heat. Like they beat the LeBron Cavs that weren't as good. They avoided the San Antonio Dynasty team. They lost in the first round the year before they exploded and won their first title, and that we've kind of been ushered into
Shout
their,
out to Mark Jackson.
Yeah.
High pick and roll.
This is not knocking them. I just mean we haven't seen them in a ton of wars other than the Cavs where they lost and the
That was
Rockets
a coin flip,
when
though,
they could have
so we
lost.
can't talk about that as if it was a loss or if it was a win for the Cavs. That was a pure coin flip.
Look,
But I'm agreeing.
Yeah.
my takeaway with this Boogie injury is that it doesn't necessarily mean that they'll lose, but I think it potentially creates a large problem for them, and large being the lack of size in the middle now. So
In the lower abdomen.
yeah, in the dick, or the nuts,
In the upper dick.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, it's like there's a
In the mid dick section.
yes, there's a gaping hole in the nuts of the Golden State Warriors team, because if
Looney
you,
season.
I mean, you're looking at exactly Looney season,
But Bogut,
like yeah,
your
but
brethren,
Bogut was great, but
only
that
in
was
country.
That was 4 years ago that you had better Bogut than now, and you got what? You're fucking
Mo better
Supermax.
Bogut?
Where's Jordan Bell in this equation? Like eating Skittles and smoking weed or
Coming to
something?
New York.
And now we've got the lesser Bogut.
Yeah, you got no Boogie, lesser Bogut, Kevin fucking Looney, and Jordan Phantom Bell. Like, where
He's
is
in the
he?
doghouse.
Yeah, he's in the doghouse.
He's a porn thief.
He is a porn thief.
Yeah,
Oh
so
wait,
he-
was that ever sussed out? Like, was
Dude,
it actually
Skinamax
a
isn't
movie?
porn.
He's a softcore.
Yeah.
Do you have
porn
to pay for Cinemax in a hotel?
He was definitely ordering dirty movies, right? Or was
That's
it
what
or was
everyone
it-
assumed.
Or was it food? Or was it drinks?
It could have been any of those three. All three are vices.
It's like, yes,
I'm thinking
I
it was
stole
like
dry
a-
cleaning.
And it was like a Pepsi, cheeseburger and fries, and
yo, that's
something,
like $40 right
and
there.
something to help with his upper mid region. Anyway, the fucking what are they called? The Warriors. They don't have as much in the middle as these teams that they're staring down the barrel of. Capella, Gobert. Coming out the other match, you
Jokic.
got Cantor. No, I'm just saying, like the
X6 legend.
I'm just saying that the quality of like big man that they're looking at,
Ooh,
if they're to make it
Cantor.
through
That's the take.
through anybody from here to the other remaining teams, they all have like very skilled offensive big men who, except for Cantor and Jokic, can't play defense.
But that's where
Which
the
means
lineup
that they
of death
might
comes in.
That's what I mean. They might just have to go straight
Which-
fucking Hamptons 5 until they get all the way through. But are
Which
they
is
locked
what
in
they-
enough?
Yeah, I mean, I think Iguodala being healthy is huge. I think the Hamptons 5 are intact still in their prime. Iguodala hasn't looked compromised at all.
What if they just don't give a shit enough to do it? Like last night was shocking to me. They had
I thought
this.
they were shook because of Boogie.
No, I mean don't mean shook. I mean shocking.
I know.
I
but
was shocked.
But I think the whole team was
You were
really
shook.
sad about it. No, they came out of halftime different. I think they saw Boogie and they were like, "The fuck, this is our guy."
That would make sense though, because if you're in their situation, you're absolutely trying to seize meaning, right? Because going to the finals for the 5th consecutive time, it's not even a 5-peat.
I was like a do it for DeMarcus season.
Yeah. It's like, okay, this is this big ebullient character who's like fun and like he's finally gonna win, and we can like be part of that. And he's like a team dude. Everyone loves him.
Bulletin board material. Like, let's do it for Boogie. He's gonna be with us for a year. Let's get him a ring because he's so lovable, as we saw in that documentary. Something
You
happened.
mean the resurgence of DeMarcus Cousins, which
super likable.
yeah, but now seemed a little bit. Did they jinx Boogie?
No, but we'll say they dropped it at the right point.
Yes,
Oh boy,
but like,
they probably wouldn't have dropped it at all if it had come.
Well,
Oh
they've
my
got
God,
Boogie too.
What if they dropped that dropped last Sunday? What if they dropped it last night? Ooh, heebie-jeebies on that one.
And actually, I wrote a story about Odell Beckham Jr. And I remember
best.
we were trying to. It was for the New York Times style section, so we were like trying to figure out when it would come out because they only drop on Sundays, those particular features, and the season was starting, so it was like getting pretty dicey, and it came out the day that he suffered his season-ending injury, and I was just like, I didn't jinx him, but whoa, if that had like one day earlier, that story never runs.
Can I before we jump off the Golden State Warriors Clippers thing, the thing that I found shocking, outside of how lackluster the Warriors were, like they just didn't really seem to care that this team was coming back on them. It's like almost like they didn't think that the nightmare was real.
I'm just gonna have a blanket question with that though. How can you tell? Was it something you saw?
Yeah, I test shit, body language, but it wasn't just
Shots
them. It
just
was
didn't go in though.
yeah.
It was like
You
in
know
and
how
out.
I feel about that. The shots didn't go in because they missed. So
But they were good shots.
Hard to argue that, however.
No.
you know, like it's cool. Like
But-
you were open, but you missed. Like I
But
don't
that
get
has
this.
nothing
Like
to
the
do-
shots weren't falling that day.
Because it's a question of
'Cause you missed.
intent. It's a question of because you're questioning their intent. Their intent was still solid. It's just the results were different.
No, their intent was not solid. Their defense was trash. But it was palpable that like cool. They got their hand up. I just couldn't really fathom.
Durant fouled out.
It didn't
That
seem
was
like
huge.
they were like. It didn't seem like they were realizing that this was actually going down. And it wasn't like the Clippers went on a crazy 25-point swing run. They chipped away at that over 18 minutes, like systematically and methodically. And the other thing is that the fans at Oracle didn't seem to know what was happening either. And then it was like they got within 12 and all of a sudden people were standing up. But for that being one of the loudest stadiums in the NBA, that thing was dead silent for a half of basketball.
So yeah, that kind of goes to my point in what Ben was talking about too with ODB, Odell Beckham, is like, and the documentary dropping. It's like, that's why playoff takes are so tough, right? Because that's fair to be like, maybe their intent wasn't sound in the second half of last night's game, and they can come out next game and just blow them out by like 20 points, sort of like what the Sixers did to the Nets, and that whole narrative is erased. And that's the tough thing about talking about these playoff games, not these playoff series, right?
Well, look at the difference in how we would have addressed the Sixers Nets series, which is now tied up 1-1 if we'd recorded at this time yesterday.
It's a losing battle.
Philadelphia came out against the Nets, a team that you predicted on Cookies Hoops that they could have some trouble with. And we've talked about it all year, that the Nets have a fleet of very talented guards, and the Sixers, without shaming, don't believe the guards are a position.
Wait. T.J. McConnell, J.J. Redick? What are you talking about?
It's just outrageous. But after the Sixers lost by about 10, or whatever it was, 10, in the opening game, which was on Saturday, Sixers fans lost their fucking mind. They went
collectively
went
malfunctioned.
nuts.
It was weird to see, just being like, we knew it this whole time. Tobias Harris is redundant. JJ Redick is now awful. Like, the whole thing seemed really kind of like, I almost kind of had to pull back and question, like, what are we doing as like people enjoying this thing?
Well, obviously, I'm very close to the whole Sixers Twitter thing. So I can't tell if Sixers fans are, say, different from other fan bases in terms of their sort of knee-jerk hysteria because I'm not as familiar with sort of the day-to-day thinking of, say, like the Mavs fans or the Bucks fans or etc. So I think this is probably something that's widespread across every single fan base on the internet, where you could say
It's a type of fan.
let's take the Knicks, for example. Oh, it's a bunch of people who don't believe that three-pointers are real. They think that
right.
the three-pointer is a prank.
Well,
you know,
no, well, that's the Knicks organization, but I think the Philly fan base is kind of resembling the Knicks fan base, who I think are the worst, and I'm a part of them. And I think what I mean by that is like, I'm not sure they know, and I know what makes me and them happy anymore. It's like, do we find solace in a loss because we can talk about it? Where does martyrdom come in? Where does like pure joy come in? Possibly like farther and farther away.
that's kind of what I don't understand about the Sixers fan base is maybe the process, as you have said before, broke their brains a bit, in which it was several years.
No,
Yeah.
it malfunctioned.
That's
people.
what broke Philadelphia fans' brains.
No, it did. They still.
It's not like the fucking case of Budweiser and Whippits and fucking whatever else. Like they're sitting in a bunch of kids in this bunch of like fucking 35-year-old dudes still doing Whippets in this local cemetery or some shit. I don't know what the fuck happens in Philadelphia, but oh my god, what a bunch of. I don't want to like rip Bill Burr's fucking Philadelphia experience, but Jesus Christ, that you even think that the Philadelphia fans are smart enough to understand what the process fucking was? It's a T-shirt to them. That's all it is. It's a T-shirt. Like
Go off, King.
That's it. Whatever. But
No,
like,
you're right. I mean,
like actually understand what he did there.
No, I'm not accusing them of that.
Oh my god.
I mean, my belief is that when you say a fan base is passionate, it's kind of a mixed blessing. And when you pride yourself on being passionate versus, say, thoughtful
yeah.
or informed, it lends itself to a particular brand of hysteria where it's like, we boo, we scream, we're mad, we're angry at this team, and they should know that we're mad. Like,
Dude, is a dog humping a
passion. couch
couch passionate, or is it just a dog humping a couch? I gotta go fart. Give me a second.
I just don't know that celebrating passion versus other traits is necessarily the best approach to fandom.
Yeah, and it's tough when people, or even we see this on Twitter, when someone says something maybe like doesn't read the room right, and there's pushback, and it's like, I'm just trying to start a discussion. It's like, is that passion? Is that like just trolling? And like, there's a comfort to trolling a sports team that you're a fan of, right? And
Look, I think part of being a fan is being critical of the team that you like. And it's always some weird, like, Panglossian shit that you're just supposed to ride for whoever's there, and then they go somewhere else, and then you don't like them now, or whatever.
Yeah.
But it is strange to me the way that the Sixers media and the fans in particular seem to dislike 3 of the 4 things that the Sixers as an organization have going for them.
list them.
Joel Embiid, beloved by all. Ben Simmons, reviled by a large segment of
He's
the
too handsome.
media and fan base because of his handsomeness. You have Jimmy Butler, another handsome man
Very much.
who people don't like. And then you have Brett Brown, who is like a good coach and a day one. And people are like, fire Brett Brown. Why? Why do people dislike 3 of the 4 good things about an organization that has won over 50 games 2 years in a row, has 2 All-Stars, now 3 All-Stars, if you include Jimmy as a typical All-Star, a coach who everyone knows is good, and you hate 3 of those 4 things?
Well, look, Ben, really, this just comes back to the Whippets.
Like, how does Elton Brand get out of all this criticism? You read all this garbage on Twitter, and no one mentions Elton Brand acquiring the same kind of player over and over, and that's why it's
no shaming.
I did not shame. I just said what he did.
My master plan of 5 Elton Brands. I almost
reminds
have
me
them.
of me.
Greg Monroe, the keystone to the Keystone State.
And I still think the Sixers should be able to dispatch of this Nets team, whether that be 6 or 7 games, 5 games. They're the better team. There's more talent on the Sixers. If something goes wrong, whatever, they're still the better team. But we're seeing how slow they are. And we don't have to make this more complicated than it is. By not acquiring guards, players like Dinwiddie just run circles around them.
It's weird. There's no other adjective that works as well as weird, because there isn't a larger plan here. They're not trying to reinvent basketball with big guys. It's not. It is weird.
Yeah.
And it's not progressive. It's, in my opinion, belies a obvious misunderstanding of how to win in the modern NBA and how to build a team out of the components that they have. It's an obvious problem.
I've spent my whole life being able to resist sneaker culture. Like, I love sneakers, but I've never collected them. I wear them, and then I throw them away, and I buy another pair. This Hoka thing got me, and I think Elton Brand has the same thing, where it's just like, I just need another. Because what if this pair, like, gets dirty in the mud? I just need another pair. So he's fearing, like, Embiid being like, I'm just worried about that knee. I better get Greg Monroe. I just have to have that part of my team secure.
He's like, I know the Bondis look exactly like the Cliftons, but they're different.
But what if my Bondis get dirty and there's no more white on white Bondis? I have to get the Cliftons.
Exactly.
Well, we talked about it, I think, maybe last week or the week before or every week. But the interesting thing about Elton Brand's direction in adding these kind of players is they're all so similar. So it's not that he says, I tried to with a slow guy who can't really defend and can't shoot. That didn't work. Let me try, say, a good shooter or a guy who can catch lobs.
Or just value.
Or something else.
Yeah.
He's just like, no, my thought process was absolutely fine. It is the player who is at fault. Let's just find another guy who's exactly like me, except hopefully he'll be like me.
Yeah.
And not just look like me.
And so when the Sixers lost, there was a basketball reason, I think, why they lost. And not to be annoying, always I'm like, the shots just didn't go in. As the game was unfolding, I was like, this is actually a super close game. The Sixers shots were not falling, so a couple bad turnovers, and the Nets just got red hot. They just started draining everything. And that was the difference of the game. But the Sixers are still the better
The difference
team.
of the game, again, Sixers were missing shots, but also it was a difference in philosophical and positional talent.
Well, that's my thing. It was just like they have enough philosophy and talent to get them by Brooklyn, I think. And it just didn't happen that first game. We saw the second game was easy. It's not going to be that easy moving forward, but it should be able to happen. Like, the Sixers look like they're going to go far in the playoffs.
I think they'll be fine. I was really interested last night. It didn't even get a flagrant 2, but the Embiid elbow on Jared Allen.
It was a flagrant 1 or flagrant 2?
Flagrant 1.
Flagrant 1. Flagrant 2 would have had him tossed.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
How quickly does that series change if they're like, oh no, that's a flagrant 2, and you get a game for that because Joel Embiid definitely elbowed him in the face.
I don't think it was intentional, though.
I don't agree with you. I know that both hands were on the ball, and he was clearing it. I think he's a crafty guy who knows how to use his body well, and he's very aware of how to get contact and how to avoid contact. And he wound that left elbow up, and he used it as an excuse to give him one in the chops. And sitting there at the end of the game with Ben Simmons and being like, oh, I didn't mean it, and like, I'm sorry you got hurt, and then laughing for 30 seconds with your
Not
other
talking about a
with
fart.
your other boy,
But
like that to me.
let's
if
not
I was-
overreact
if-
with that, though.
I'm not going to overreact, but I tell you who should ask the question of the league is the Nets. The Nets might be like, all right, so he claims that he didn't hit him in the head. We definitely feel that he did.
But Kuruk's retaliated, so the Nets argument would be weird.
Well, I mean, it's a. You know what I mean? It's like you can take another look at that. And like, it's not, even though both of his hands were on the ball.
Yeah,
it's
but
not a natural movement.
that clip you're talking about, he said he was sorry and he was laughing because he was like, we're not normally like genuine up here.
Yeah.
And like Ben Simmons was kind of like laughing. So
And-
I don't know the whole
And let's not get caught up in this because you're both right. Like, he did that on purpose because it's a basketball move. Like Shaq talked about it. He's like, I did it. Chuck taught me how to do it. Every big man does it.
Especially, and a lot of dudes mostly do it clearing rebounds more than like offensive rebounds.
And he got busted for it, and I kind of agree with the TNT guys as being like, that's just like 90s big man stuff. So if you're going to complain about that and miss the 90s, like, we don't know where you stand. Like, he got busted for a flagrant one.
Wait, who misses the 90s?
Like Chuck. Like, Chuck is always just like, basketball was better in my era. Yeah. But then Chuck was like, that was a dirty play. And Shaq was like, you can't have it both ways.
Allow me to log on as the Ben Simmons defender for one moment here.
Oh, weird. I've never heard you take this stance before.
Right. So he
I would like to see you defend Ben Simmons for like
just back up in the paint and
let him shoot for like 3 possessions.
Just let him shoot. He could get on his phone and call Amazon.com and buy a jump shot.
Wow. Ben's been going to theater class or something.
Farted out of his mouth.
Fart cop. So Ben Simmons was taunted by everyone after having a poor game one. And you had people across the board being like, I guess he just doesn't show up for the playoffs. Why is he so bad? Like in the playoffs, is it an issue? He's just good regular season player, but not in the playoffs. Allow me this. Here are his
Go off, sire.
Here are his per game averages over his entire career. 16 points, 8.5 rebounds, 7.9 assists. His playoff averages per game are 16 points, 9.3 rebounds, 7.7 assists. They are literally the same. Now, you could say he hasn't as good, his field goal percentage has gone down a bit or whatever. But the point is, the guy who is a all-star in his second season has been in 2 full playoff series.
He was also a rookie of the year in his second season.
Rookie cop.
Get a jump shot. But, look, the numbers are there. The guy's been literally exactly the same player as he was as an all-star in his second year as in the playoffs. He was the best dude on the court against Miami.
Here's my argument.
He was the best dude on the court against Miami in his first playoff season of his life. He dominated that series, and we're like, he can't play in the playoffs.
Shouldn't we be looking at better and greater production from him in the playoffs? You're just like letting him rest on his like boring ass regular season laurels. Shouldn't he be?
No, he has the same numbers in the playoffs as the regular season.
I know, but shouldn't his numbers improve in the playoffs as the stakes also?
One would hope.
Yeah, one would hope.
But
so maybe he's not necessarily a disappointment. Maybe he's just kind of flatlining.
If people said
at an all-star level,
he's as good in the playoffs as he is in the regular season, and we're disappointed, that would be one thing. Right. But there's this overwhelming narrative that Ben Simmons is bad in the playoffs because, like, you can just play off of him, as if people haven't been doing that his entire career, every single game.
He's going full Kellerman right now. I wonder when he's going to drop a bomb.
Well, it's like when sports fans take their collective whippets, right? Like when. It's like everyone's like Harden can't do it when it counts because he didn't shoot well that game where he should have beat the Warriors. But they don't get that game without Harden just going off for a month, right? And we just remember John Starks missing all those shots, but like he was a really good player for the Knicks all season, and he had a bad game. The shots did not go in. And with Ben Simmons, it's just like we only remember the times where he, like game one, where he doesn't show up because this will come up next year when they get eliminated. But we won't remember the last game where he just like cruised to a triple-double easily.
He had one horrific game, arguably the worst of his career, against Boston, and people use that as emblematic of what he's done. It's just wild, though, when you see basketball experts completely ignoring the fact that he was awesome against Miami. It's like, it's just a weird angle to take at a second-year player. Like, to not only basically say that they're a choker, but like a dude in the third playoff series of his life, after one in which he had a shit game and was mediocre, and one in which he was awesome, to be like, yeah, here's a real fundamental problem. It's like they're getting back to the whole issue. They can't deal with the fact that he won't take shots.
Why do fan bases hate their own sometimes? Like, what? I mean, we tried to go through this, like, Simmons, looks like he's like millennial. He looks like he's from a different generation. He's like the beginning of something else.
People,
Maybe Gen
people
Z.
hate Simmons because they feel weird when he doesn't take shots. That's literally it. There are other angles, though. The fact that he hangs out in L.A., he's cool with LeBron, he dates a Jenner. There are other issues, like his persona, that he's like kind of frosty and kind of a pretty boy and too cool for school. But it's the fact that he won't take shots.
But I do think it does have something to do with his body language on the court. Ben Simmons has resting bitch face. He just does. He walks around like one of his teammates does something good. He rarely celebrates it. He's sort of like stoic and emotionless.
So does
Sometimes he
Redick,
just
though.
seems like very fed up with the people on his team. Like, why am I out here with these clowns?
Would you be if you were with JJ Redick, taking those long twos as soon as you drop it off to him after turning down that long two?
I mean, maybe he's just envious of JJ Redick's percentage.
Haircut,
Tattoos,
sleeve, insta sleeve.
Insta sleeve. Redick looks like a guy that gives haircuts, not like a guy that gets haircuts.
He does look like a barber.
Him and TJ, I can imagine them like back to back, like holding like stupid fucking straight razors or something in the promo shots.
Totally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's actually true. I've just confirmed that they are
TJ
Greenpoint barbers.
TJ gets a sleeve on his right so they can do the promo shot so it matches with Redick's left. Not to like lame shame both of them, but
Anyway.
stop dribbling and cutting baseline. Do something else.
Anyway.
Can Redick take like a jumper that isn't off balance?
No.
They're all off balance now. He didn't used to do that in LA.
I mean,
I've heard him on the radio being like, those are low percentage shots. You try to shoot straight up. He was on a podcast with Michael Lewis, I think on Freakonomics, being like, there's no such thing as a player getting hot, and every player should set before they shoot. And he doesn't do any of that. I mean, he just shoots, which is fine, but he doesn't set his shots anymore.
the Sixers in general.
Wait, I have an answer for that. Really
yeah.
quick. I know why. He has a little agreement with Joel Embiid. Embiid's like, I'll give you $400 for every shot you put up off balance if I get the rebound. He's padding Embiid's stats with these shots that he knows will miss, but if he connects on, will make him look cooler than his Kings of Leon tattoo does.
So it's an aesthetic thing.
It's an aesthetic thing, and it's also like garnished wages, and he doesn't want to. He wants to do right by JoJo.
Was kind of interesting when we were talking about the Knicks and not having a worldview, right? Is that we see like the team like Brooklyn and the Hawks. They've created offenses that are sort of goes playing with a tripod.
He's been playing with the tripod for weeks, and you just keep leaving it there for
I
him.
know,
He's
like you can't. It's like pizza dough. I just have to like knead it.
Yeah, but we're just trying to distract him from giving bad takes. We have to put toys in front of him. But
All bad takes.
But what I was gonna say was the Sixers used to be almost Morey ballish, and like guys who could attack the basket and threes, and they had really high value shot selection. With Redick takes a decent amount of long twos, Embiid takes a lot of long twos, Butler takes a lot of long twos, Tobias Harris takes a lot of long twos. And you're like,
Simmons will not.
Simmons will not because he's a basketball genius. But it is wild when you see how actual humans and players, when you're trying to win games, compromise a system or an idea. And it's interesting to watch that in Philly, which really tried to build this the right way. And it's now doesn't take a shit ton of threes, a lot of mid-range jumpers. It's weird when you see, I guess, potential energy become kinetic.
Well, this is one of my worst takes on Cookies when I was like, I can relate to Carmelo Anthony because everyone has a solution for him, but beyond his own character, he cannot shake the thing that makes him not good. And like, I can't do that in life either. It's like, oh, all you have to do is eat healthy. I'm like, yes, eat healthy. And then I go get pizza. You know, like I just can't help myself. And I think basketball players behave in the same way we all do. And you're right. When you watch the Sixers, they don't play as smart as the Nets do. The Nets on the court at the same time do smarter things more than the Sixers do.
And with that same idea, you see people accusing the Sixers of not trying. And it's like, well, of course they're trying. It's the playoffs. you know they're trying. They're trying to get to a loose ball as hard as they can. The effort is 100% there. The Nets are
Don't dive.
don't dive. The Nets are quick. They're fast.
So much quicker. You can see it.
They can beat them to the ball. They can beat
Yeah.
them down court. They can do all these things that are based on speed.
Yeah.
And it's weird that we equate speed and quickness to effort.
Yeah, no.
In a
it's
way
a
that
talent. It's not.
yeah, we
effort.
don't do it.
Yeah.
We always do. Oh man, they're just beating to the loose balls. They want it more. No, they're quicker. They're
Yeah.
faster.
Yeah.
They're in better shape.
Yeah, it's a skill, I mean, Joe looked a little slow and he admitted it, but like Tobias doesn't really have speed. Jimmy Butler's not. He's a pound the rock guy. He's awesome. I'm a big fan, but like the Sixers are built of a bunch of Elton Brands, man.
It's like, okay, we're gonna put a bunch of forwards on Karis LeVert and see what happens. Like, cool. That what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
There's no surprises here. Karis LeVert is one of the best guys off the bounce in the NBA, and you're like, cool. We're gonna put a forward on him. Good luck.
Yeah, and even the Nets like not using Rondé Hollis Jefferson a lot is an acknowledgement of like the style in which they have to like play to get wins. You know.
That series, I do believe Philly's talent advantage will just end up overwhelming
Yeah,
the Nets.
it should not be a problem.
Stylistic and I guess personnel advantage in certain areas, but that's a fun series.
Well, yeah, and I love thinking about the thing we talked about a few episodes ago, which was like, what's the net outcome of like talent connected to money versus a point of view. So let's say the Knicks, just because they have a lot of money, can acquire talent, versus having a cool world point of view like Brooklyn. Is the net equal? And we kind of see that with the Lakers, right? Like the Lakers have all the space and all the money and like a good city and a destination, but they don't have a good world point of view. And we just heard this week that Jeannie Buss is thinking about adding Kurt Rambis and Phil Jackson into the mix with Rob Pelinka, which is everything we hoped for, right? As fans.
Never change.
Yeah.
That's my thing with Lakers. Never change. Never get smart. Just be this roiling. What am I looking for? Like just a roiling fiasco that's based on the idea of the 90s and 80s Lakers still existing. It's fucking fabulous, man. Like let them just live this fantasy of Showtime LA as they are literally the worst team in the NBA over like the last like half decade. They suck, but just keep doing it. Live your life.
I think that this is a power move on the part of the Los Angeles Lakers. Lakers, Celtics, a rivalry for the ages. You got an ass man, we need an ass man. This is like it's a fucking
Rambis.
It's a battle of the butts. Rambis versus Ainge. Except Ainge's butt fascination is more basketball related than Rambis's, I think.
No kink shaming.
No kink shaming, just butt shaming. Who will win the battle of the butts? Who will have the thickest roster in 2020?
Probably the Celtics. I only say that because of all that chowder up there. Chowder. But like, so if the Lakers, they Magic Johnson ceremoniously stepped down during the Magic the Gathering event that we all remember. Where were you when the Magic the Gathering happened? We all know. Anyway, so
Okay, where was I?
no, you tell me. Like, you all know where you were.
Oh, okay. I thought we all know where you were. I'm
Like 9/11, Magic the Gathering, the first episode of Game of Thrones, or the Utah.
Kennedy assassination.
Right.
Rambis exposed for liking great butts daily.
On Twitter.
The moments of our lives.
Right.
Tom Cruise dying. Oh,
No spoilers. No spoilers.
shit.
But so if like the Lakers have this vacancy at president and they got someone like we all kind of agree is awesome, let's say a Sam Hinkie or somebody, I would almost want Silver to step in and be like, no, okay, we got to change the rules because now they have everything in place, right? They have a worldview, they have money, and they have a destination. And that's the flaw these big market teams have is like hubris, right? Because the Knicks have everything except self-awareness.
And that's why the Nets going forward and the Clippers going forward are both really dangerous franchises. As we've discussed, they've already won a game on the road in the playoffs. They're very far from being finished products. They're teams that are going to have money, they're in big markets, and they seemingly have, as you said, orthodoxies, worldviews, perspectives. And in a way, this is just sort of the modernizing of the game where organizations are catching up. And it also makes sense that the two sort of holdouts would be the ones who are the crown jewels of the NBA that have never actually had to go through that kind of real evaluation. They're dynastic organizations that have powerful people in charge for a long fucking time and who are celebrities themselves. They are surrounded by the same cast of characters. This idea of once a Knick, always a Knick, Knick for life, this Lakers Showtime, Magic, just Rambus, Phil, just keeps circulating the organization. The Knicks are the same way. Allen Houston.
Patrick Ewing will represent us in the lottery. Like, whoa.
But that's
Well, I mean, that's some self-fulfilling prophecy bullshit where they think that they're going to get the number one pick.
But that's also the way the organization works, right?
Yeah.
Being like, we have greatness in our DNA. And I'm like, all right.
But this is the problem. Now that just lessens, or maybe that's the first smart thing the Knicks have done. They're like, it's like that. You remember the '90s classic Basic Instinct?
Yes.
Where she kills a bunch of
Paul
motherfuckers.
Verhoeven. Awesome.
And then she's like,
Where she kills a bunch of motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. And then she's like, well, they're like, well, this murder is very similar to the one in your book. She's like, why would I write a book outlining a murder and then commit that murder in the exact way that I did it? I think this is the
Very
Knicks.
90s idea. Oh, 80s.
No, it's 90s.
90s.
Oh, my bad.
This is the Knicks protecting themselves against another frozen envelope theory. If Zion goes number one, people are like, oh, of course they gave it to the Knicks, a bunch of bullshit. They're like, well, we have Patrick there as our guy. Like, as if we were going to do that, knowing that there was another frozen
He's
envelope.
slowly going to uncross his legs while
Yeah.
up there at the podium.
Yeah, he's like, anyone want to check out my midsection?
Who would you guys put if you were the Knicks at the lottery event? Who would be the celebrity or team representative?
I'm with the Ewing one. As I said, appeal to your fan base. These are people who want to argue about whether a freestyle needs to be written down or off the dome. Like appeal to your core contingency. Put Ewing up there. Starks.
Michael Rappaport.
Like an urn with Anthony Mason's remains. Like really
Honestly, if
live it up.
If I would really like somebody up there, it would be John McEnroe.
That's tight. I mean, he's a great fan. He's always
hilarious.
courtside.
Best guest host of Late Show with David Letterman ever. Should have given him his own show.
What about Tracy Morgan?
What about Tracy Morgan?
He's at Knicks games all the time.
So many. I think I've seen him at a bunch. Yeah. He's always got the best one, like best seat right next to the scores or like the padded table area that used to be for the media. I would want like a New York celebrity to go that isn't attached to the team necessarily, like Rosie Perez or something. Like something just to make it like
Cory Booker and Rosario Dawson.
both of them
Both of them there.
are king and queen. Why'd you take the big board down? Are
was
we
squeaking.
done? Oh.
That's
fair
it.
enough.
It was
literally why I
squeaking.
took
Ben
it down.
didn't want people to think he was drinking iced coffee through a straw again.
I've ceased that behavior after the complaints from loyal listeners. Anything else of
Pressing.
interest about the playoffs? Just anything you've seen that you've been entertained by thus far that may not warrant a full cookies segment, with the devotion that we give to each of our topics.
The Nuggets look hilariously beatable for being so good all year. Jokic looks a lot fatter than what I remember.
Well, they said in the break between the end of the
No
regular
king
season and the playoffs, he just feasted. And just just carb on carb, like samosa after samosa.
I don't know about the potato in the... Like, is a potato... Yeah, it's a carb on carb. Okay, by definition.
I was kind of wondering, does a potato count as a carb in this?
It has to, right? So, like...
It violates the spirit of the discussion, though, I will acknowledge.
Right, like if you put is French fries in a sandwich, that's more
That's
similar.
fucking carb on carb.
Yes, that's more what we're talking about because it's a standalone.
You know what that's called? A chip butty.
Ah, wait.
Butty, as in butter.
So
It's a British.
fries and
It's a
butter?
British thing. It's like chips, hot chips in heavily buttered Wonder Bread, and it's
Sounds
fucking
nice. Oh, I've had those
magnificent.
on sliced Wonder Bread.
Yeah, chip buddy.
Is it good?
I've had them. Yeah, it's good.
Magnificent equals good. Yes, they're quite amazing.
Oh, we thought in magnificent in Australian meant something around the midsection.
Yeah,
Just means a groin. It's a groin. That's a chip buddy. I'm like, oh, where's Jordan go with chip buddy?
It's groiny.
That's so vile. The other series that I thought was interesting was how easily the Rockets demolished Utah in the first game of their series. When they're up like 30, it was an absolute laugher. A laugher.
So there's chatter of Donovan Mitchell, who finished pretty strong this season, like maybe in the consideration for like third All NBA team, which is funny because when you look at his stats in a season, like he's kind of the same as Lou Williams. It's just like a potentiality thing. It's like he's so young, he's the next star, so he's gonna be one of the All NBA players moving forward. But he's like not that good yet still. And that first game, like he's who he is. He shot as many times as points.
I mean that's an interesting concept to put Donovan Mitchell in the top 6 guards in the league.
I believe it was from a popular podcast that said that. I mean, he's fun, but this is dribble bias at its clearest, right? Because he moves awesome. He looks like a player we've seen before who has shoes out.
We should have talked about Lou Williams in the Clippers segment because he had an unbelievable game last night.
Dude, like Dwayne Wade kind of game. Just like kept on scoring. No one could stop him. Like 3-on-1.
What's really nuts, if you look at his numbers per 36, because he's a guy that comes off the bench, he's sort of become the guy who's known as the sixth man of the year. Like that, it's the Lou Williams Award when he's done with it, basically. And he averaged 27 points a game for 36 minutes. And you're like, one, why are they only playing him like 25 minutes a game? He played 27 minutes a
He's
game.
a horrible defender.
Right, but Lou Williams kind of got cheated out of being like a scoring champion contender if he was playing crazy minutes.
He's awesome. And there was
He clearly likes the role. He does not seem to object to it. But if Lou Williams was the focal point of an offense, as you said, he'd be talked about like a superstar potentially.
But I mean, it's the same thing with Ginobili and Iguodala. Like they've relished this role of being the greatest, first off the bench players in recent history.
But
and if you're talked about in those terms as being the best at a particular role, whether it's like the best passer of all time, the best offensive rebound of all time, best first off the bench of all time, because if you're first off the bench, you're basically a starter. And if you were a starter that was not relegated, but almost like you're being promoted through demotion, in a certain way.
I mean, I think like it's interesting you bring up those two guys because they're awesome and they do like everything. Like Ginobili, I think is arguably better than Dwayne Wade at the 2. He's like a very complete player with enough hardware. But with Lou Williams, we're just talking about like scoring, right? Like,
I mean, maybe, but I know he's a bad defender. But per 36, here are your guys: Harden, Giannis, Embiid, Curry, Kawhi, Paul George, Devin Booker, Lou Williams, Kevin Durant, Cat.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's all guys we consider superstars, or in Devin Booker's case, like an
Up-and-coming
superstar. And Lou Williams just like chilling there between Devin Booker and Kevin Durant.
just a great player. And I posed this whole Lou Williams Mitchell thing on Twitter.
Lou Williams, 7.3 assists per 36 minutes.
So yeah,
his numbers are more or less exactly the same as Devin Booker, except that he's more efficient.
And he's older. And we don't think about him in terms of like stardom moving forward. So we just want to like usher him out as quickly as we can. Somebody on Twitter posed the question like, is he a Hall of Famer? And I think his defensive stats probably hurt him there, and also optically because he doesn't start. But his offensive numbers and his longevity kind of like make that worth looking
How
up.
many Six Man of the Year awards does he have?
It's a good question.
Is this going to be his third?
He won one in Toronto too.
don't
Also,
know
he
offhand.
is not more efficient than Devin Booker. Let me not sell Devin Booker.
Yeah,
short.
because he's more ethical, right?
he-
He shoots less threes.
Yeah, he likes foul shots though, which are
Very ethical. That's ethical.
I think it's ethical to get to the foul
I
line.
think if Lou Will wins 3 or more 6 Man of the Year awards on multiple teams, then he would have a chance at the Hall of Fame.
Really? His stats
I mean,
are
Sam
like
Cassell has a fucking nomination for the Hall of Fame. Like,
But isn't Lou Williams kind of gaming the system here?
yes,
I mean, he's
obvious-
definitely a player, as we know.
very
Well
true.
played. But he certainly should be a starter. Obviously,
Yeah.
but Manu should have as well. They're kind of cheating.
Yeah, no, yeah,
What do
it's
you mean
noisy.
cheating? They're not cheating.
They're playing
being-
against the second team. It's a different skewing.
But
of
you're being
stats.
compared to real, like, first guys off the bench, which are like TJ McConnell.
I mean, you saw that last night. The Clippers started 2 rookies, but then their bench players are Trez and Lou Will coming off the bench, and that is ahead of that second unit. And to your point, yeah, they're gaming. So they got 2 starters who are in their first season, and you have proven fucking
Scoring
weapon
champion, Lou Williams.
proven
Yeah.
weapon Lou Williams coming off the bench,
He's won 2 Six Man of the Year,
and he's going to win this year.
I would assume so, yeah.
Yeah, he's great.
It's funny looking at the list, which I'm looking at, is that they're all the same person. It's Lou Williams, Eric
Jamal.
Gordon, Jamal Crawford, Lou Williams, Jamal Crawford, J.R. Smith. And you're like,
And they're just all scorers.
they're just the same dude.
Yeah.
It's the guy who can't really defend.
Bombs threes.
Who scores a lot and
but
comes
it makes
off the
sense
bench.
that like you have a shooting guard as your scoring injection off the bench because they're the ones traditionally who are into scoring.
The Vinny Microwave Johnson technique.
I kind of always love like the Mitchell Robinson 6-man off the bench, just like that guy who can't stay on the court that long because he has no like defensive discipline, but can change the whole scope of the game just in his minutes.
Just like the energy guys, like let me shift the timbre of this.
Yeah,
real
just
quick.
like use up your 6 fouls and just sit back down. But Lou Williams last night reminded me of Wade in his first run. They just couldn't stop him. Like Golden State couldn't stop him.
Well, Lou Williams has that virtually unguardable move where he drives left, and then you can't tell if he's going to turn the corner and get to the basket or he's going to go to the corner for a fadeaway, and he just waits to see what the defender does, and then he just bounces off him, draws a call, and then throws the ball up. Like
Yeah.
that one where he goes left and he just kind of like skitters in space until he draws contact. It's not guardable.
Yeah, it's amazing. And he was like gobbling up offensive rebounds. Like it's cool to see kind of like that and one street ball game translate so well in a player like him. That's like the ultimate fun.
Beyond the legion of ways in which NBA players would destroy the normal person at basketball is, you realize like you would just also foul them all the time.
Yeah.
It's not even just that like, man, I can't stay in front of him. It's like you would just foul out in a minute. Like, okay, guard Lou Williams. Cool, you just fouled him literally every time he touched the ball.
James Harden, like unguardable. Like what about that clip of the guy playing Rubio playing behind James Harden?
He just did that wrong.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, you think he
Well,
was,
What
but
was
was
that?
that was that intentional?
He's a good defender too.
my understanding as a as you know my days as a defensive juggernaut
Do
is
not
that
sell yourself short.
is that I mean a juggernaut I don't think was selling myself short. I wasn't being sarcastic, Ben.
Oh, I thought you were saying those days were over.
Oh no, they are. I think
Defensive juggalo.
he was both attempting to force him right, but also trying to like
was
usher
far.
him in to the inside the 3-point line, and making sure that he couldn't step back and to the left.
Maybe
for that
shrinking
three.
the space a little bit.
He was trying to hurt him, but he gave him both too much space and just I don't know, kind of fucked it up, to be honest.
James Harden is one of those guys that I don't understand the tenor of criticism for him, really. I get it. He goes to the foul line, he flops. Like, I understand that. The guy is a virtuoso. It's like, he's just an offensive Leonardo da Vinci. He's fucking insane.
I thought you were going to say DiCaprio.
Me too. I was like,
And
yes,
yes,
man, you
yes,
are right.
go off,
you
King,
are
go off.
right.
He's like,
You mean he holds his cell phone funny?
LBC.
And, seriously,
He's like a
everybody out
Keanu
there,
Reeves out
watch,
there.
watch how Watch how Leonardo DiCaprio holds his cell phone. It's super fucking weird. He holds it like it's a conch shell to his ear. He like cups it a little bit. I don't know. It's one of those strange things. He holds cell phones weird, and no one can figure out why.
I think it's because he's always in places that are seasides. So they're very gusty, and he's just shielding
Romantic seasides?
shielding it from the wind because there's tropical gusts.
Can you guys explain why people say James Harden is boring? Because he is like the most fun player I can imagine in the playoffs.
I don't
Steph
get it.
Curry's fun too, but like Harden is amazing. Like watching him play is incredible.
No, I sit there cackling.
Yeah.
When he's playing,
He's awesome.
When you see them, as you said, like okay, lining up the defense, trying to do something, and he kind of looks at it and then just runs by them towards the basket.
Yeah.
When people are like, oh, he draws fouls, half the time he is literally just like running by standing defenders who. Like, it's awesome.
He's perverted the natural way of defending someone so much that they actually have to triple think what they're doing at any given time, and he doesn't.
And you could see the step back three happening, and he does it, and he hits most of it.
But then my favorite ones though, where you see like a guy come out and they're like, all right, I'm guarding James Harden. They get in their little crouch and their little crouch bias, and they're down there.
Crouch
they're
bias.
squatting.
that.
They're ready to go, and he kind of like looks at them and then doesn't even like juke them, just like, and then just like runs straight down the middle of the lane for a layup. And you're like, how? How does he do that?
Mike D'Antoni explaining like what teams trying to make him go right and how he solved that was funny. Being like, he's so good. So when you do something different to him, there's like a moment where he's like, what are you doing? And if you win in that moment, fair. But he's going to figure it out really fast. And he figured out people pushing him to the right.
Yeah, and I think when you're like, what are people doing? Why is he just going by them? I honestly think they're frozen with fear. Because they're like
Chest
fear of failure. Like, what am I going to do wrong that he will exploit?
Yeah.
And so people just don't play their natural way. Oh, James Harden, God bless you. One quick thing before we go, or what I'm leaving, but you like, can they please play Blake Griffin in the rest of this Detroit Bucks series? They're going to lose anyway. He wants to play. I know he's a little hurt. I think even if it's for the next 2 games at home, play Blake. I want to see something.
He's a joyous player. I like his funny saltiness. It would be nice to see him for a little while. But he's really hurt, right? Like, he says he wants to play, but that's just to seem like a worrier, right? Like, I think he's hurt.
I believe he said if I could play, I would. He's like, it's not a pain thing. It's a movement thing.
Wow.
Yeah, his absence takes what little interest I had in that series out.
Yeah,
Because Blake will
now.
still drop 50 on your head.
Yeah.
He's fun. He's funny. He's a really entertaining player.
He's fun. He's funny.
Right.
He's fundamental.
Right. I will tune into the start of those games purely to see if Giannis's shoe was out yet. And if he's not wearing something other than Kobe's, if he's wearing something other than Kobe's, I'll stick around with it. If he's still wearing Kobe's, I'm turning that game off. Drop the shoe Nike, or are they just going to wait for the finals? Let's see.
We will see. That's a hour and 42-minute cookies on your head. And incidentally, the perfect pod.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty good.
Well, I thought last week was perfect, but this one was a little more perfect.
Well, it was similarly perfect but longer, which makes it more perfect.
Additional perfect minutes.
Additional perfection. Mutual perfection.
Show perfection.
To your midsection.
Oh, little rap attack from Kuo all day.
Whoa, Cypher
The
guy.
cipher. I'm just in this.
Cookies.
Cookies.